She has.
Happy Sunday morning.
Yes, to you too.
Well, I want to thank you, first of all, for being our speaker at the ladies' meeting this week. And for doing a little bit of an extended version on what you're going to be talking about.
Right.
So for anyone who's feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or just burdened, I know a lot of Gen X women like myself feeling extremely overwhelmed right now. I know I'm in the sandwich generation. I have parents that are in homes. I have a child that has children, two and a half grandchildren. It's really overwhelming to try and figure out at this time when I need to also doing financial success. I need to do personal life success. I need to be building my wealth. I need to be getting healthy because I have another 50 years left now apparently to live. So thank you. Yeah. We used to die at 60, 65. Now apparently I'm going to be 50 in a year and a half, and I'm going to live another 50 years apparently. So
maybe longer.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer.
So Robyn Wyman, thank you for covering the topic of burnout to balance. If you haven't met Robyn before, she has the Circle of Life Center, and she assists people beginning life and entering into life, and also those in their twilight years. So I find it really interesting. You're also helping all of us in the middle as well.
That came to me. Can I share for a moment?
Absolutely.
That came to me as I was working with so many seniors and their families, and it was just coming up over and over again. It was more the home caregiver and how burnt that person was, and typically it was a woman, exactly what you're describing.
The middleman.
In that sandwich generation, you know, the seniors, the parents that are still living, as well as children or grandchildren, and just the swash because you're still working and leading your own life. So just this, and this is really common. And that was, I kind of went, oh, these people are really burnt out and exhausted. It's because they do the physical things, but it's the emotional side of things that people struggle with. And then I do also do some work with seniors in some of the residences, just about peace in the midst of stress. Because seniors have stress. And as I was doing that, I was watching the care aides, you know, they'd be in the corner and something had happened, they'd be crying, and just all the emotions around that. And I went, this is bigger. I just kept getting this awareness. This is far bigger than you realize. So it started with the home caregiver and the.
Well, my parents are in two different homes.
Right.
My dad's in full care. My mom's got her own apartment where literally there's ambulances coming and going every day. And like the last story she told me, she's like, Mr. and Mrs. went to the hospital, and you know, and they're getting the information from the front desk people who are doing the food, and they have, you know, there's different sections there. You can either have your house care, you can get your house cleaned and some food done, or you know, so there's also a little bit. It's so new for her after living in her own house for years, being married for 50 years, and having just this one person really that, you know, they have their life. And so now you've got all these people back in your life, and it's really different. And then she's also dealing with the caregivers at my dad's. It's like no one cleaned behind his chair. It was disgusting. So now she's exhausted, and you know, and she's only 78, I think now. So she may have another 20 years left to go.
Exactly. A lot of times now it's the senior is caring for their senior parent, because you know, a lot of the residences, you know, 85 is young today in a residence. A lot of them are living 100. We're living longer. But one other area I'm noticing it is a lot of the millennials are very stressed and burnt out. They're unsure. They're having to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. So this is, I think, a universal topic, and people are also questioning what's this all about.
Yeah. Well, and even like I love Gary Vee and Dan Locke, both really specifically speak to millennials, and they're like, go get a fucking job. You don't need to be a millionaire right now. You need to get life experience. But there's this pressure to be instantly rich, right? There's this pressure to have the car and have this, have that. But they don't realize often that comes either these days you can inherit it, because we are in a generation where, for example, you're 4th generation Canadian, you might be inheriting something, right? So some of that wealth is coming easily. More importantly, your university and your first car is probably paid for, so you're getting some of that a lot easier. But then you got to start working, and then you have to get experience. You need life experience so that even when you get the money, you know what to do with it.
Well, the millennials, because I have three millennials, and there is a culture they have a culture, and they're very much, they don't stay in it, where we would have stayed in a job and worked through it and bitched about it probably and complained, but we would have stuck through things. That generation will not do that. They are, forget it. I mean, some will, but on the whole, if it's not part of their culture, I'm not doing it, and they just will quit on the fly.
Yeah.
And just, I'm done.
Well,
And walk away without anything.
I can't think of her last name, but Esther. Everyone's gonna know she's on Mind Valley. She's everywhere, and she's started to speak about relationships in the workplace, not just the love relationships,
Yes.
because the wording is getting mixed up, right? It's like, oh, I'm not being fulfilled at work versus, and then they're taking home and going, what's my KPI on this relationship? It's like there's almost too much of a blend to make sense anymore. And I love her. She's I can't think of. I wish I could think of her last name, but.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Burnout to Balance, you are giving people coping skills.
Yes. So many people have come, like I'm sharing, I'm burnt out, I'm overwhelmed, I'm totally stressed, and I'm not having healthy communications, my relationships are suffering, I'm resentful, like all this is coming up, and people are hitting a wall with this. And what I think is needed is just more back it up, and just more of a practical approach. And I was thinking, because of my own story, and that was, so many people died in my life between my age of 29 and 36. I had 7 deaths, and I had a little boy who was 1, but I had 2 more children. So I had babies and people passing, and like my mother, my auntie, my sister, both my grandmother. So women who were very important in my life, my tribe, were gone. 36, and I was completely burnt out because I had been a caregiver and stressed and overwhelmed. And so what I developed in Burnout to Balance has been my journey, how I healed myself holistically, because I didn't want to do
You came into that with a lot of tools.
I did have tools, and then I really incorporated them, and then I started to study the different modalities I was learning. And then one of the big ones for me was the energy side of things, because I started with massage, and then someone came to me and said, you really are a feeler, have you ever looked at Reiki? And I went, oh, no, I haven't, but I will. So then I started with Reiki, but Reiki led to another energy modality and theta healing and access consciousness, and then then I opened up to the world of crystals and sound healing. So I'm really realizing that I am a lifetime learner, and
we can talk about all of
I
that.
love that. Yes,
my dad has always done hands-on healing my whole life, but he didn't tell anybody because it was freaky.
I remember when I first did Reiki, and I came and I went, oh, this is what Jesus did. Jesus laid his hands and healed, and people were just, what? Like, how can you even say that? And I just went,
because 1 and 1 is 2.
Because I went, oh, so I just sort of became very careful of how I talked about it. And people said, I'm a woo-woo. Oh, you're the woo-woo mother. You do everything so naturally and organically. And now I was just ahead of my time. It's now here. Yeah. But at that time it was like, so you learnt where to talk about what I did, for sure.
Yeah, I totally grew up that way. I'd be like, hey, Dad, have you ever heard of Wayne Dyer? And he'd be like, here's the book. Oh, have you heard of da-da-da? Here's the book. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful exposure for you too.
Yeah. So understanding the platform of well-being, that was really interesting.
Yes. So I would like to liken it to the example of a chair. So the chair has 4 legs, and I always use the example of the physical health, because we are in form. It's how do you take care of your body? We have our mental and emotional health. So thoughts and things create your reality and your feelings. Then we look at our spiritual health. What is your beliefs? It doesn't matter what you believe, but believe in something, even if it's your stuff.
And what I learned when I got my bachelor's degree is that we are all just a construct.
Yes.
Of what we're all a construct, no matter what you think. You didn't create it. We're all constructed from something, but therefore we can reconstruct. Right. And I love the adaptation to the idea of furniture.
It's fantastic. And then the last one is etheric health, because you know what? We think it's really important that we shower every day, and we brush our teeth, and we wash our hair, and we do.
What did you call?
Etheric health.
Etheric health.
But anybody thinks about, do they think about etherically? We are energy, and we have these bodies, and we have chakras and meridians, and this is important, that health to our whole psyche, as the physical health, the emotional and mental. So I layer all these together, and if you think of one isn't like say you're physically, you've got aches and pains, and emotionally you're upset. So think of the legs in the chair. It's going to be wobbly. What if one was gone? It falls over. So I call it how to create your platform. So you're standing on this platform.
Well, and I think talking about chakras and energy is still, I mean, it's really only the last 5 years, I would say 5 to 10 years, where it's become a regular conversation. You know, like the books are on the shelf at anywhere you go, you know, and nobody's, it's like, oh, your chakra must be out of balance. You're like, I know we were talking this morning about frankincense and throat chakra and opening it up, and it's like, that's just a normal conversation I have with people, and as soon as my throat goes, I'm like, what am I supposed to be saying that I'm not saying? You know?
Right. And our chakras also, they move into all the hormones. So all our hormones are connected to our chakras because we're all connected. It's not like, oh, this part of me and this part of me. We're symbiotic, and we're just always trying to find, and the word is homeostasis, but homeostasis means balance. And are we always going to be in balance? No, we're this beautiful sort of dance flow that you go through in life. So, but it's knowing tools and having those like a toolbox that you can always go to and go, oh, I'm a little out of balance today.
I think
What's
when we
going
don't
on?
have the connections with other women like we used to, they can hand the toolbox off to us.
Right.
And I think that's a really big missing piece, because we're all trying to figure it out. We're all getting, with the internet, we're getting all these little fractured pieces.
Yes.
Instead of someone saying, here's the toolbox. Okay, your auntie's going through that. This is what I'm giving her, and you're watching as a child. Here's, like, grandma's going through this. This is what you're going to do. Da, 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 da. Okay, you've watched me use the toolbox. Here, now it's yours. That doesn't happen anymore.
It doesn't happen. And I grew up with, my mom was from a family of 9, 4 sisters, and the sisters would, and some of the wives of the brothers would all come together. They always canned. We were always helping, and the beauty of circle for women is so powerful. There's far more than people canning or making jams or talking about an issue. And I had an auntie that was very forward thinking. She liked shamans, and she was always talking about energy. So that was always talked about. And there was never in the family, nobody ever said, oh, that's stupid, don't talk about that. There was just this beautiful
Well, that's actually how the ladies' meeting actually came to being, because I never went to a ladies' meeting when I was a kid. The ladies always went to the church meeting, and they did the canning, and they did the, you know, I grew up in a group of 140 people, many of which were women who planned the day and planned the cooking and planned all of this stuff, and they would go to their ladies' meetings, and they weren't talking about church.
No.
And I'm not religious at all now in that way, but it still totally applies. It's what's missing is that discussion over cooking food together.
Right.
A lot of people know when they come to my house, they have to bring food. They don't come and the meal's not cooked as we cook together. And that's my dinner parties are people all getting together in the kitchen and cooking together. You learn so much more about each other's, how we do things. And my mom used to do it just this way.
Breaks down barriers. And I made, one of my modalities is aromatherapy. I studied that and became certified. So I love working with younger women this way. So how can I make a cough syrup for my child? How do you make a cream? What's a lotion? And then people would always say, how do you make these things? So I think it's skipped a generation, and now the younger women are wanting that.
Yeah, well,
that's what I'm noticing.
Because they can explore it more now. But it's still not the same watching it on a video as opposed to
in a room, because like you said, the conversation, it moves away from something, and it'll come into someone who maybe needs some healing or needs to be heard and needs to be witnessed as they're talking. So beautiful. I love circles. I think they're very powerful.
When I love that you've called your circle of life. Yes. And how do you help people explore their thoughts and emotions and how they're affecting people? Because that's sometimes we don't understand that how we're thinking is affecting us physically, and sometimes you can make those one little shift. And like I was telling you a story this morning about photographs, and said well, have you asked that person what they think of that? And it was like, no, I never thought of that. You know, it's like just the thought of having an extra conversation might shift someone's entire life and how things are functioning by just asking some different questions. But if you don't know the right questions, I always say the reason people would say that you don't need to go to university, and I said, but when you go to university, you learn better questions. So when you learn something from someone else, you learn better questions.
I always think university is learning to learn.
Yeah.
You're learning how to learn and gain knowledge. So back to the thoughts and emotions. So we know that our, I totally believe this. Our thoughts create our reality, and our emotions are the workhorse of the creation. So the thought. So thoughts, I'm just going to break it down for you.
Please do, because I already kind of went, I gotta think about that.
Thoughts are electric. So we think something, there's synapses that goes off in the brain, the thought, and then the pathway starts, and then we'll go, it's an electric charge, so it charges the body, the synapses fires, so that's the thought.
Right.
Then the emotion is the magnetism of it. So thoughts are electric, emotions are magnetic.
Okay.
So, and we are
go deeper.
We are an
more.
electromagnetic being, just as the Earth is electromagnetic.
Right.
So we're either bringing things to us or we're repelling.
Right.
So if you're thinking, oh, I want to be in a relationship, I've done everything to be in the relationship. But I'm not good enough to be in the relationship, because we start to if you pay attention to your thoughts, you'll see where you drop in your vibration of the thought, where you have a negative belief or pattern around that. And when we think those things, so well, maybe I'm not good enough to be in a relationship, then the feeling, what does that feel like to not feel good enough to be in a relationship? I'm not good enough to have a partner. It's an emotional reaction. So that you have the emotion and then the charge, and you keep going, oh, well, I'm just not good enough. Why isn't it happening?
If you listen to Abraham Hicks, because I've had some coaching people who have been coaching people who are in such a deep depression. They're like, I can't get this person to feel good even for a minute. I said, well, why don't Abraham Hicks talks about 17 seconds.
Yes.
Of feeling good for 17 seconds, because you're changing that charge.
Exactly.
Even just a short minute, and then then add another 17 seconds or 17 seconds in a minute. And I think is that kind of what you're talking about, changing that charge and that feeling.
And so I'll share with you what I do with on my one-on-one clients. So people will talk, and a lot of people, when they're grieving or burnt out or stressed, we don't feel safe. They don't feel safe. They don't feel secure. So what does that feel like to feel safe? So I'll get them to sit. I take them into a meditative state, so maybe a more expanded state. And then I'll say, okay, what's the feeling? What does it feel like to feel safe? And they start to feel that. And then I use essential oils, and I link that into the body. So they're smelling the oil, they're feeling safe, and then the oil they can use when they're feeling unsafe. So they can just go, okay, what is that feeling like? I can go back to that because they've already created the pathway. Oh, I felt safe when I was. You may have to go into the past to remember when you felt safe, and you can feel that safety, and then you link it to something else. So you're embodying it more.
When a lot of people don't realize how not feeling safe is holding them back from. I teach that in my motivational course.
It's everything.
It's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Is feeling safe right there. And so even now, people are starting to build in safe environments into their homes now. At the interior design show, even just recently, they created a garden space.
Yes.
That was a meditation space. It's even at hospitals now, they have meditation rooms where you can go and just get that, even if it's for a few minutes, and ground.
It's just grounding that. So not feeling safe, that's all root chakra. So you're talking about it in Maslow's needs. It's also root chakra work. So you're not feeling grounded. So I help them with that. So that's where the thoughts and emotion comes. And I also I'm into sacred geometry. So the triangle is a basic sacred geometry shape. Yep. So I'll go, okay, what about safe? What's another word we can put in there? So I'm calm, and then maybe I'm happy. So we ground those in, and I use the energy techniques and the oils and that, so it's layered, and then that will be their platform for the day. And they'll go, oh, I got knocked off, I'm not feeling safe. Okay, let's get you back on there.
You can re-ground yourself. And again, tools to re-ground.
Grounding's huge. Most people are up here.
How do you find that people are, like, when they come to you, how are they communicating? Are they having a challenge communicating what their needs are to you? And I mean, especially the people around them. If you don't know that someone doesn't feel safe, and they don't know, the general people, we don't, so how do you feel safe today?
I know they don't. So it's just a knowing, and also I'm intuitive, and I've guidance, so I do use diagnostic tools, but I'm very trusting when intuitive is coming through for me.
We had a woman, when we went to do the round at the ladies' meeting, for anybody who doesn't know, we do a monthly women's group at the Sophia Hotel. A bunch of us get together and have lunch, and we go around the circle, well, 20 to 30 women, and she was gone. There was one of the ladies that left. She didn't feel safe in that environment.
Okay.
But nowhere did we think to do a check-in with people somehow when they come in. Do they feel safe in this environment?
Right.
And I wouldn't even know where to start to create that, right? Like how,
Well, that's, and I'm all about creating that safe environment. So you say you like my home, and it feels, but my home is gridded with crystals. I clear my home all the time. It's, and I smudge a lot. I bless my home. I'm always going, how does this feel? And when I work with people, I create that for them too.
For anyone who can't see the rest of this room, it's absolutely beautiful. You walk in and you just feel like this wonderful energy coming up. The color on the wall, like the lack of color, I guess you get, but the gold and the lighting and everything just.
It's
wonderful.
subtle. So that's really important. And I know that one of the things I do is I create space because people just open up to me. And then you'll go in with them and they'll be talking, and then there's always a layer beneath the layer. There's always a layer beneath the layer.
So how can we in our daily life, without saying, hi, how are you, do you feel safe today?
Right.
How can we start building that into our conversations in some way? Or is it just a subconscious thing that we need to do and take time to look at someone and say, do they feel safe coming to this conversation, especially in an employer's position as well? You're going to get so much more out of your employees if you're in a care home, if you can have the care home people feel safe, if if everyone feels like they're safe, there's so many more things that can happen.
Then it opens up because then you're not in that fight or flight and
Right.
fear.
So what can we do in our daily conversations, I guess, basically?
So so a big part of it is being present with people. So often, people are up in their heads, or you're talking with someone and you're thinking, in your mind, you look like you're listening, but you're really going, I gotta get cheese on the way home, or my back's a bit achy right there, or I gotta get milk, and I gotta write that list, or Johnny's gotta go to the class later, or on Saturday. So I don't personally feel a lot of people are actually present when they're in conversation. And being present is being grounded, being in your space and confidently in your space. And when we leave the conversations with people, and when we say goodbye and we leave, then people are always longing for people because it's not complete, because they didn't fully engage and were present. So that would be one of the things I would say is, first and foremost, make sure you're grounded, which I teach, and present. And I work with that, and presence is really dropping in, because just getting into your breath and being present and really being with someone. And we have so many distractions today that, sometimes when I'm talking to people, the phone ring and they'll pick it up. And I'm going, that's just, so you're not present. We're not present.
I really challenge people, like if you're going for dinner, even just going for coffee with someone, leave your phone in the car. Not even in your purse, because you're still gonna hear the little buzz. It's always like, got an email.
And honestly, if you're really gonna say, how are you doing today? Listen to how that person, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and there's a reason for that. And we're always sort of in our own agendas. We ride over.
From here too is so different.
And really, you ask if you want to know.
Or I call people on it sometimes, because I talk to a lot of people, sometimes 100 people in a day, and often it's, hey, how are you doing? And they'll be like, oh, I'm like, that wasn't very convincing. What's really going on? It's so much, when they helps them check into with themselves,
right? And
they'll either say, oh no, I'm fine, or yeah, it's been a really crappy day. I'm like, oh.
Well, people won't share if it's not a crappy day unless they feel safe with you. So they have to feel that safety.
Well, and a lot of these people I literally see every day.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting, or 4 or 5 times a week, which is cool.
Right. And people will often, it's a go-to. Oh, I'm okay. But I'm not hearing that so much anymore. I'm hearing from when I just walking along the street and will chat with people. If I'm at the grocery store, people have always just started talking to me. I'm just I provide that safety. I know that. And I'm very calm, and I have an ease about me, and people feel very comfortable to share with me.
Yeah.
And but now I'm hearing more and more people there's more struggle in the world. There's so much going on.
Yeah, and I have a partner, a friend that I'm with quite often, and he's like, you just talk to people. I'm like, yep.
Yep.
He's like, how do you do that? I'm like, just talk, just people. Just talk. You see someone say, oh, having a good day? Yeah, okay, good. It's not that hard.
It's true. I was with my daughter, we went for a walk, and we were up in just this little village that's near here having a coffee, and there was a young man beside us, and we were just talking about, my daughter writes poetry, and she's finished 2, and she wants to send them to a publisher. And he was saying to her, and we were talking about awakening, because that's what my kids and I talk about all the time, is spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And he was 22 and he just started talking. We probably sat there for half an hour, and he's awake, but he's 22 and a lot of his friends aren't awake, and we just had this beautiful conversation with him. And then we gave him a few ideas, and he gave us this book app to have a look at, and we would have never had that richness.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we're wanting, that from everyone, from others.
When I see it, when I came in on the street here, I see people actually doing that on your corners. I think what you're doing may be extending outside your building.
Oh, good.
It's not very often you actually see about 10 people hanging out on a street corner drinking coffee and waiting to have breakfast.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. So I think you've extended your boundaries of what you're doing. In this Bishop McLawney does the 6-phase meditation where he goes, okay, remember you're in a white light here, and he's like, then extend it to your block, and then extend it to your neighborhood, and then extend it to your province. Or he's in the US, or wherever he is. And then he's like, and take it around the world. And it's like, I can totally feel like it's not just your house here.
Okay, so I'll tell you, I do a meditation like that every morning.
Yeah.
I ground and then I send out to the world.
Yeah.
And it's just a practice. It becomes part of a practice.
Yeah.
And I just want to dial back to the thoughts for a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have a beautiful exercise with people that I get them to go into just observing your thoughts, and I call it weeding, because I'm always referring to nature.
Do you want to do it right now?
You can if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it. Let's just make sure we're loud enough so everybody can hear us.
So just close your eyes. And I want you just to take a nice deep breath in and let it go with a sigh. We're going to do that 2 more times. And we're going to go 1 more time. Just feeling the cushions on your bum, feeling your feet on the floor, knowing that you're connected, dropping that cord right to the center, and just nice even breaths. Beautiful. I just want you to, we're going to do, it's called weeding, and we're just observing. You're just going to observe your thoughts. You could just be there, envision them as clouds floating by. Or they could be like pictures, like a movie, like pictures just floating by in your mind. I want you just to observe them. And usually, maybe not for you, something will come along that will be a negative thought. And if one does, I want you just to pick it and pick it out like a weed. And then bless it. And let it go. And you can just sit doing that for 30 seconds. If you have more time, you can do a minute or 2 minutes. It's a quick way to get a reference point, because sometimes people will be, all the thoughts will be very beautiful, and then there'll just be something, maybe it's a color, they know it's a thought about, I'm not good enough. Pick it out. Send it to the light. And it's really simple. I'm just going to get you to take a couple of breaths. Rub your hands.
Awesome.
It's interesting. It's easy.
So
These aren't hard. This isn't brain surgery, everybody. It's not brain surgery.
But it's interesting what comes up.
Yes,
It
isn't
makes
it?
you realize what's top of mind at the moment.
Yes. And it's a busy chatter, right?
Lots of little clouds popping along.
But it's an easy, simple exercise.
Mm-hmm. And so that comes down to establishing a routine of self-care.
Yes.
So daily meditation.
I like daily meditation, and if you I went to a shaman many, many, many years ago. She was a lovely woman, and she said to me, "Oh, your mind's like champagne, pop, 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 all over." She said, "You need to meditate more." And I went, "Oh, okay." I said, I thought I was. And she says, but you're more active. So sitting meditation is going to be harder for you. So she said, I want you to watch the Sufi, the whirlers.
Oh yeah,
So she said you had a past life as that, and she said all you have to do is watch that, or active meditation. So I love to go to walk in nature, and I'll just focus on my breath, and I'll focus on my steps. I used to, when I had my center, I gardened a lot. So at the beginning you're gardening, and then before you know it, you are in active meditation. So meditation doesn't always have to be sitting cross-legged.
Or like the shock I was telling you about this morning at the beginning of the meditation I was listening to with Vish and Laklani, they had Wim Hof at the beginning with these. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm awake now.
It's all about breath,
But
right?
then, because I went up, it was like, it was so easier to just chill.
Right. You know, some people, guided meditation, it's great.
Yeah.
Music. You know, use the brainwave music, the hemi-sync, and sync something together.
Brain science.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I do sound with people too.
What I find is people come to the gym every day and they work out their bodies, and then they tell me they can't sleep and they can't do this and they can't do that. I'm like, train your brain.
Right.
Train your brain. I'm like, I've got a few different guided meditations that got me going, and I give them to them. I'm like, did you do it 10 times? If you haven't done it 10 times, you're not training your brain, so that your brain knows eventually when that comes on, we're going to get to a state, because then you can start getting more into your flow state. It's just like when you go to the deprivation tanks.
Yes.
It's the only time I've ever got into that deep, and for those of people I just heard that, where you sink like that, you know, you're going off that edge, you get to that deep side of meditation that I have very rarely ever gotten to, because I haven't got that focused yet. But I got to see that little edge of it. But it took
Beautiful.
Going 10 times to even get to that little edge.
It's a practice.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's the same for people when they go do a yoga class. You know, a lot of times I'll watch people, they'll be really chit-chatting, and then they'll go through it, and then sometimes they'll get up when it's over. They don't even do Shavasana, which is the relaxation corpse pose at the end. So the whole point of yoga is how to take what you're learning on the mat off the mat. It's not, oh, I did yoga today and now I'm back into my busy routine. It's how to incorporate all these things into your daily life, so you're living in flow, not this adrenaline rush shots that we've been living in the past. It's how to find that beautiful ease throughout the day.
Flow. I think flow is one of the...
There's an art to slower living. There's an art.
What I found when I moved from Abbotsford to downtown Vancouver, because I was managing a building, I had a lot of quiet time to myself, and I found that flow was really doable in the city. Because I was really centered. I would literally consciously go outside and go, okay, I'm gonna flow through the streets today. And it was amazing, the little things, the people that I would run into at the coffee shops, and the day it was so amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, when you're looking for flow.
Yes.
And being conscious of
And
flow.
you're setting your mindset and setting your intention, and then focusing your attention on your intention. So your intention was, I'm going to flow today with ease. So your attention was focused there. So these are things I teach people through this.
And their skills.
It's skills and it's
skills.
a practice.
They're constructions to go back to the furniture, to build that foundation.
Yes. Yeah.
And thank you for that little energy technique. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's great to watch observe your thoughts and not judge them. Just right? Like, it's okay.
Cool. So if you are someone who is feeling overwhelmed or exhausted, or feeling quite burdened with just your own sense of what you've put on yourself, because I think often that is really the challenge, is what we've given ourselves. Or I read on your website, barely holding it together. You can go onto our website. The first thing I found on your website too, which was great, was your 10 parts to grieving.
Yeah.
Which I think would be really helpful for everyone. I think we realize it's not always life loss that we're grieving. Sometimes it's the idea of who we are that we're grieving. And all of those tools are going to apply.
I've talked to a lot of new mummies who are grieving. They're grieving their old life, but they have a baby, so they're the joy of the baby, but then they feel guilty that they missed what it was. And like we're complex. I work with people who are retiring and are super anxious about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
different. You know,
sometimes
grief is not always death for people.
Yeah.
You know, there's many different layers. I'm divorced, and there was grief at the end of the.
Oh, for
to
me,
go
it
through
still
a
felt.
divorce.
When I got divorced, I literally felt like something had died.
Yes.
The family had died. My dream had died.
Yes.
And I still find it devastating.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. Relationships, change of work, being fired, moving. These are all things that, you know, sometimes people love a home and they have to move for whatever circumstances, and then there's this grief around that.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to contact Robyn, you can go to, is this .ca or .com?
.ca.
So circleoflife.ca.
And I want to just share Circle of Life Center is what it is,
Can
and
you wrote
it's
it down here?
CENTRE
Right.
.ca.
Right. As well, depending on when you're watching this, it's 2020 right now, so she's actually my guest speaker as well at the ladies' meeting. And if you want to see a recording of it, it'll be on the entrepreneurcollective.com as well.
Great.
And we'll keep this on as one of our master classes. So
Super.
thank you so much for today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to chat with you.